All right, we're trying something new. Welcome to Flow Tricks. It's Ken. Let me know if this comes in okay. This may look like a different kind of a webcam, and it absolutely is. I don't know. Hopefully, it's a better one, but we'll have to see. Here's the old one. Wait, that was not the old one. I was just kidding. There we go. This was the old webcam, and then here's the new one. I've still got to work it out a little bit. I actually didn't buy a new webcam. This is actually just, this is an iPhone app. This is actually running through like a phone. I'm using the phone's webcam just to see how that works. So it's a little bit lower today, getting the up the nose shot, you know. But I hope everyone's doing well. This is a open forum live stream, so meaning I will answer whatever questions y'all have about nunchucks and flow arts, performance, whatever you want to know. Just let me know if this works. The audio may be a little bit off because it's streaming from my camera into this program, matching up with a different microphone, so it's coming in from different sources. So let me know if this looks a little weird, like if it's like dubbed. Sounds like kind of like a dubbed kung fu movie or whatnot. But anyways, like I said, today is a live stream. We're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I figured if we don't have any specific topics, I'd like to talk a little bit about where my path has gone and the life of a performer and how I was able to build that up. I figured today might be a nice way to shed some light as to like how I became a full-time performer. I thought that might be kind of a cool topic. But if we do have questions about nunchucks or staff or whatever, please feel free to ask because I'm more than happy to help. Gonna give some shout outs. First, let me just double check. I always gotta like look to make sure my Facebook never picks up properly, even though my YouTube does. So I always gotta make sure I don't have any messages on Facebook. So I want to give a shout out to Anthony and of course Ike Flow. Great to see you both. I cannot pronounce all these names and sometimes I butcher it, but I just want to say hello. Let's see. Looks fine. All good. Hope you're well too. Yeah, doing good. Hello, dear teacher. Thank you for posting. Of course. No, thank you. Thank you for watching. I'm glad you guys are doing good. Let me know what you've been working on and what you've been up to. Because right now I am running at absolutely nothing. I've got nothing. I have no plans written out. I didn't have any moves or anything. This is the first time I have nothing planned. And because of that, I just thought my whole point of talking today, I think, was just to be about like the transition into a performer and what it took. But again, if you have questions specifically about nunchucks or staff or flow or anything like that, please feel free to interrupt me anytime. Otherwise, I'll just kind of talk and say like, hopefully, like some of these tips that I give you can help you become a performer if you want to do this. Right before COVID hit, that's how I was making my full-time living. Now it's online, of course, but you know, before COVID hit, I was actually like being able to carry this over. And I think the most important thing with that is the realization that you have to change your whole mindset as to how you approach your flow. Ike Flow says I've been working on clubs. That's awesome. That's really cool. I actually don't have much club work, but I know with clubs and poi, those are really big in the flow arts world, and they both transition very well into a lot of different kinds of props. So I think that's a really smart move. So a long time ago, I thought I'd always be this martial arts instructor, which is really interesting. And it was about 10 years ago or so that I opened up my own flow studio in Omaha, Nebraska. And it was really tough, and I'll tell you why. Because just because you have okay, if you hear this loud noise, it's because my ceiling picks up the rain really well. I always thought like if I just pushed hard enough, I'd be able to make a living as a flow arts instructor doing nunchucks, you know. And so I opened up a nunchuck school in Omaha, Nebraska. It was like almost 10 years ago or so. And what's really interesting to think about is even if you have the right idea or if you have a great idea, if you're ahead of the curve or if you're one of the first, you have to convince everyone that it's a good idea. I guess it's kind of the same thing when like Apple removed the headphone jack, how a lot of people met it with resistance. I think it's kind of similar. Like when you have a good idea that's not tested or not true, you're going to deal with a lot of rejection and a lot of people fighting against it because they don't have a way to measure the progress of what it is. And a lot of people, I feel like, especially if you're not trying to innovate, they'll try to copy. And you see this a lot in Hollywood too. If you think about like Hollywood movies, there'll be that guy that comes up with that really great idea or that unique, new, innovative idea, and it's great. And then there's going to be the 100 other movies that follow that copy that because they know it's a successful formula because it's already been tried and tested. So in my eyes, I always like to be ahead of the curve, which means I always have to deal with rejection, and I always have to deal with failure, and I also have to deal with the fact that most of my ideas don't work, but some of them do. We'll carry that in a second. I see a couple posts here. IKeyFlow says some video editing would be good to get your advice on editing flow videos. So if you're thinking about editing a flow video, there's a lot of things to consider. I think the most important one is who is your target audience and what are you trying to convey? Like if you're trying to convey like a sense of awe, generally speaking, if you're trying to impress people or create a really cool demo video, it's best to do very short clips, maybe 2 to 3 seconds, spliced over 1 minute, because everyone's attention span is so short now. If you really want a good video, it's usually no longer than a minute or two, and it's going to be just your best stuff. Just pow, here's another one, pow, here's another one, pow, and it's just going to hit back and forth, back and forth. Now you can capture people's attention with a slower video, you can, but you're going to drop a lot of people. A matter of fact, people's attention span it's just everyone's so short now because that's just how Instagram and Snapchat and everything is just right away. So you have to kind of adjust your angle to that degree as well. Now, if you're just trying to make a work of art or a really nice video where you want it to tell a story, then it's usually best to think about like how a movie format works in terms of like first you start off with something to capture their attention within the first 7 seconds, then you can slowly build it back up. So it's like boom, here's something crazy, swoop, and it goes inward, and then it's something very subtle and it slowly builds into what you want to say. The most important thing I think is just to capture someone's eye within the first 5 seconds of scrolling, or you're going to lose them pretty quick. Even if you have an amazing idea, if you don't get their attention quick enough, they're just going to assume something about it that may or may not be true, and they may just scroll on before they even get the gold. So I find that's very important. I also find angles are important. I am very guilty of not doing a lot of these. I know what it takes, and I know how much work it takes too. So when we're talking about editing flow videos, I generally don't do it that much anymore because my focus isn't making this amazing video that gets all the viral views. Rather, I just want to get videos out there. And then I already know, like, everyone knows I talk a lot, so my audience, I've trained everyone to know that I talk a lot. So that works in my favor because the ones that have short attention spans usually drop off or they leave frustrated comments on my YouTube page. All right, let's see here. Brian says, hey, Ken, the tutorials are looking great. Thanks for showing my video last week and keep up the excellent work. Oh, yeah, you're most welcome. You know, I'm happy to help. And same with everyone, like just send me an email, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. More than happy to look over your videos, give some advice, give some suggestions, as long as you don't mind that I show it to everyone. And then every Sunday, we're going to be doing this live stream for quite a while. I haven't decided 5 or 7 p.m. though. It bounces back and forth because when I do 7 p.m., there's a lot of people that are outside the country that miss. It's usually midnight or 1 o'clock. And then if I do 5 p.m., it works a little bit better, but I generally like the 7 p.m. better, so I like kind of bounce back and forth. But 5 or 7 every Sunday is definitely what's going to be happening. So, I don't know how to prove my happiness to you. I really love you. Thank you. You know, the best way that you can do it is just to keep sharing the nunchucks with all your friends. Like show people how amazing this art is. You know, I couldn't ask for anything more than if you guys just paid it forward. Now, I really appreciate the message, though. I mean, it means a lot, and that's the whole reason why I make this videos, is knowing that it helps people. But I think the best way to show it is to share it, you know, just to keep sharing, and that way other people can also be helped, and they can get good, and they have a way to express themselves. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. IKeyFlow, maybe that's my mistake. I think mine are too long. Good tips. Oh, yeah, IKeyFlow, to be honest, most artists' videos are way too long, and that's where they usually make the mistake, because for you see the whole build-up, and you see every nuance, you see every single little detail. So it's like you want to include all these things, but most people have like a kindergartner version of your knowledge in terms of how in-depth your skill is. And so like it would be the same as if you took a college grad and you moved him over to talk to a bunch of kindergartners about something very complicated like science. You could only say, he would be better off saying, the world is big and round, as opposed to like getting really in depth and talking at a college level, because the kids won't understand a thing you're saying. So what they would do is they would change the way that they talk, make it very to the point, but capture like advanced ideas but with simple motions. And I think videos are very much the same way. And that you can capture complicated ideas with simple motions, but you have to kind of think about the angle that you have and the attention span that you're dealing with. And then you kind of ramp up. You can look at your video and think of it like energy. And if you think of it like energy, as your energy ramps up, you may realize some of the clips you have don't fit with the energy that you have. Because if you're building and you have some slow part right here, you're going to lose some of the audience if it's not cohesive with the rest of your video. So my opinion is like, I usually just like to flash, boom, bang, boom. You know, that's in terms of like promo videos and whatnot. I think that's a good call. I'll actually, let me show you something here. I'll show you my website for my company. Give me just a second here. This is the website to my company, and just kind of watch this promo video and you'll see exactly what I mean by flash. So that's me, of course. So there's some fire, there's LEDs, here's some projection mapping, here's some fire eating, hand balancing, juggling, aerials. See how like it flashes? Everything says something a little bit different. Shows grace, awe, sophistication, technology, you know, skill, fun, just a feel-good feeling right there. More awe, something to shock them. This is just like trippy, like, oh wow, we do these kinds of things, you know? This is a visual showcase. There's more pixels and grain. Hey, what if I did this and, you know, what if I brought this into my act? Something slow motion to drive it home. More grace. Done. And that was a minute. That was a minute to showcase 20 performers. A minute to showcase like 20 performers, all doing different acts, keeping it to the point, just enough to make them want more, and you never give it to them. And the reason why you never give it to them is so they'll contact you so they could bring it in and find out more. But you got to give them enough to get them interested. And that's, in my opinion, that's the way that I like to focus with videos when I'm really looking to grab someone. So hopefully that video helps, but that was kind of an example. That's, when I say that I work for myself, that's my company. I run an entertainment company off to the side. So when I say I was a full-time performer, I work with 2 circuses, well, generally 1 really in Kansas City, and then I own my own entertainment company where I pitch and sell all those performers that you see, and we create big packages and we do corporate events, and I've done shows for Facebook and PayPal and Berkshire Hathaway and all these different companies, and that's how I make a living. Yeah, or that's how I had been making a living. But hopefully that kind of helps you understand, like, when I show clients that video, they're usually wanting more, and that's exactly what I want. If you give them too much, they won't want more because they'll be satisfied with what they've seen. So make them want more, give them less. All right, I'm gonna keep going here. Sergi Mayer, hello from France. Welcome, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, but welcome. Welcome. Anthony says, I like the 5 p.m. video, even though it's 11 p.m. here. You're in Wales. That's awesome. What do you think? Is this new webcam? I mean, does this work, or is it a little bit off? You let me know. Here's the new webcam. Here's the old one. You can see I'm a lot grainier and stuff. But this camera is literally like 10 years old. This one's just my iPhone, just put down, and I got this like new software. So let's see. Ikeflo says, I think you're right, man. That's really helpful. I sent you a club video. If you could give me some advice sometime on what to work with in terms of the edits. Yeah, absolutely. Again, just keep in mind, most people that you're working with have a kindergarten mindset. You know, Like when I do nunchuck videos for you guys, it's really tricky because it goes one of two ways. Either I make a nunchuck video for the absolute beginner who knows nothing, and then they want to see like the flashiest tricks, which are usually the tricks that are not too terribly hard, like the figure 8 wrist roll, the wheel, you know. I mean, there is a bit of a challenge to it, but what usually people that have been doing nunchucks for a while, they want to see the complicated things. They want to see the advanced patterns. So when I say know your audience, that's because you're going to have these two different approaches. For the audience that knows nothing, you want to focus on something completely different than when you're focusing on people that spin, people that perform, entertainers, people that hire for entertainment, may even be looking for something specific. All of these are going to have different strategies per se. So when you ask like how can I make a good video, the number one thing you should think of is, well, who's my target audience? Who do I want to see this the most? Because depending on that, that's going to depend on your strategy for how you want to put it all together and what tricks you want to showcase. All right, Officer Sausage says, I like the name, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? The answer is very simple, yes and no. You lose, I would say you lose about 50%-ish. You lose about, okay, that's a lie. You lose your edge, okay? There's an edge that you have to work with every day or every other day to keep. There is an edge, right? But it's a very fine edge. And for instance, if I quit and I spun nunchucks, say I quit for 3 months and I spun nunchucks 3 months later, I would lose the edge, but I could keep my nunchucks. I could get the edge back in a couple of days, but the way that I see it is like, whenever you quit, there's like this shell that goes over your skills. And you have to spend a couple of days just going through and trying to break through that shell before you can get back into the old sense of flow. I don't think you ever fully lose it, but if you quit long enough, as long as you've had a good training regimen or years of practice, you won't fully lose it. I don't think you ever will. It'll always stay with you. Just like martial arts or self-defense, if someone pushes you to the limit and you've had years of practice, it's going to automatically come to you. But the things that aren't going to come to you, for instance, in martial arts, if you don't train your reactions every day, you may not have as fast of reactions. You may not be able to block that punch, but you sure will remember how to kick them, and you will remember some of your locks and some of your punches. So you're going to lose some of the reaction part, but you're still going to keep a lot of the technical parts. And in the same way with flow, you may lose your ability to connect moves together as easily, or you may do it, but you may not feel the heart, or you may not feel that extra edge. And when I mean the edge, I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. When you are in the groove and your movements just are like, there's something you can't describe about how they're all connected together. And I feel like that requires a consistent training practice, usually. That's usually the case. You have to be consistently training. You know, it's just like with anything, like even speaking, like if I stopped doing live streams and I started a year later, the first couple of videos are going to be awkward again. But then, boom, broke through it, and then I'll be back to my old self. So yeah, that's what I say. You do lose a little bit, but you can gain most of it back. Unless we're talking about physical, of course, you know, like I'm getting older, I'm in my 40s now, so there's some things where I do have to consider that I've lost a little bit. My speed's gone down a little bit, but I make that up with other things. So, Aiki Flow, I tend to do things much slower. Will fast cuts work in that context, if that makes sense? Absolutely. You know, and another thing you can think about is contrast. So if you want to do something slow, make it really slow. Put it in slow motion, and then put something in normal speed next. Or, I mean, what you really want is to focus, again, it depends on who your audience is, because some people will be perfectly happy with a 2-minute block of flow, you know, like especially flow artists or people like me or people that are watching this right now, they're totally happy watching like a 2-minute session. But people that haven't seen it before usually want the flash, flash, boom, boom, pop, pop, explode kind of thing, you know. If you want to go slowly, though, yeah, just really emphasize the slowness by actually making it even slower at some parts. So slow motion, the really intricate parts, and then you can also have slow, which will make it seem faster if you put them together, because contrast you almost always want contrast, just like in movies. There's a lot of movies where they'll take one guy and they'll take the exact opposite and they'll put them next to each other because that contrast makes each character stick out more. And in the same way with making videos, you want to think about putting contrasts in your videos to make each side stick out more, to be more prevalent. Just like just like if something was in the dark and you shone one light on there, that light's going to be a lot brighter. It's going to have a lot more focal point because of the contrast between the dark and the light. All right. Ikeflow says the iPhone's fine. Cool. Okay, good. And then Anthony says nice and sharp. All right. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. No, I'm really happy to hear that. Like I said, I know today's a little bit more of a talk or a lecture, but if you do want me to show some nunchuck tricks or staff tricks, please let me know. Otherwise, today I thought I'd just focus on talking more about performing and where I started and maybe some tips and ideas for how you can get it. Like I said, about 10 years ago or so, I started teaching. I wanted to teach before anything, and I wanted to have my own Nunchuck Federation in Omaha, Nebraska. So I opened up a dojo, a Nunchuck Flow dojo, long before I was performing. And I rented this studio, and it was like $500 a month. At the time I was an IT person, so all my spare money, I made extra money, so I just spent it all on renting out this place where I could teach nunchucks. And I was so gung-ho about like teaching, but the one thing I had no idea was business. I had no idea how to do a business setup. I had no idea how to get clients. And let me tell you guys something, if you're going to get into the business of flow or nunchucks or anything, if you're going to get into that, get into the business side. It's very important to have the right approach. Because basically what happened was I had the school up and I posted it everywhere, but it was really hard to get anyone to come because I didn't know how to advertise. I didn't know how to reach people. And so I got a couple people. And the interesting thing is this. After a year of having my school, I only ended up with a few people that were dedicated, but they ended up becoming a part of my performance troupe. So eventually that was a failure and I lost thousands of dollars in trying to teach it locally because I definitely couldn't afford the space that I was paid in for. I always thought if I just gave, like you got to give money to make money, and that's kind of true, but you kind of have to have a strategy, especially with advertisement, or it's not going to work. So even after the place closed a year afterwards, I just lost a lot of money. I stopped teaching in that way. But then I was like, we have these people that I have been teaching for a year, and they already knew nunchucks before me. They just wanted to kind of conglomerate together, and then we eventually started a performance troupe like 9 years ago in a place where circus arts was very niche, very unheard of. I live in Omaha. There has been other troupes around beforehand, but they were very all underground. But at the same time, I also decided that I would take my classes. Now, I've shared some of them already, but I decided that I would take my classes that I was doing locally and I would start projecting it out more towards the world, and I would make the world my dojo instead of locally. So flow tricks, originally nunchaku tricks, started right around that time. You'll see that I have videos even before then. Like, you'll see videos even of the performance area that I had rented out, but I really didn't take it seriously until after I lost all that money and it closed down, and I still wanted to teach, but I wasn't sure what to do. Ikeflow asked, how did you do the Costa Rica seminars? And well, that was a pretty easy one. The seminars happened because I already had a following. So we're talking 5 years after I started teaching nunchucks online. One of my friends, one of the locals that took my nunchuck classes way back when I first did the nunchuck class locally in Omaha, he went to Costa Rica to take classes from a Cirque du Soleil artist, Srikanta Barefoot. And he was a Cirque du Soleil fire spinner, and he's a serial wheel artist as well now. And then basically he talked to the venue owner and said, hey, I know this really great nunchuck artist and he has a big following, and he linked me up with the guy that owned the venue, and he checked it out and started talking to me, and that's basically how it happened. The thing that helped was I had a unique skill at the time. Not a lot of people did fire nunchucks, and I had a big enough following where I knew I could bring in enough people. And if we go into the business side, I think businesses, they want artistry, definitely, but they also need to know the numbers will fit even a little bit. I never had big following with my Costa Rica retreat just because of the amount of, I mean, it was a big investment, of course, but everyone that went had a fantastic time, and I always had enough to where I could always do another one. It was beautiful. I mean, just imagine 1 to 2 weeks on a beach, spinning fire, jamming out, having this authentic food, ocean, waterfalls. Like, it was great. So I pitched it more like it was a resort, an escape with training, as opposed to saying, hey, come train, because you could train online. I could even, you know, it would almost be, to me, I wanted to like capture it in that form, because I think that was I think that's kind of what people want, is they want that vacation, but they also want, like, you can add skill to it. So that was kind of the approach for the Costa Rica retreat. I did it for 3 years. I almost did it this year. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because we would have lost out with COVID. But I definitely want to do another one. I just know that the investment is a little bit higher for a lot of people, like getting to Costa Rica and getting the classes. It's just a lot, you know, it just takes a lot for people to get there. But I definitely have been, and here's another thing I've been thinking about, was traveling across the United States, finding a bunch of dojos, finding a bunch of places, and then taking a big trip around the US, or maybe even beyond if I can get people to, like, dojos to afford the plane ticket, and just start teaching seminars in person instead of online. You know, I think that would be fantastic. I think I've talked about this before, but it's been on my mind as well. Instead of having one retreat in Costa Rica, having me go around into different places to see, like, who we could capture. Anthony says, can you teach that behind the back nunchaku move we talked about on Messenger? That'd be amazing. You can show the video here if you want. Yeah, sure. More than happy to. Let me show you. All right. Anthony was asking about help with, let me see. I think, actually, I do need to take a look. Let's take a look at your video, Anthony, because I can't remember exactly where you were with that, so let's check it out. Bloop. Give me just a second. Hey, that's me. Oh, the lag. All right, give me a second. Looking. I always get so many messages. All right. Here we are. Okay, you're going in butterfly position, so we want to change that for now. You're going with the harder position. They're going in opposites. We want to go same direction instead of opposite direction. And I'll show you why in a second. So right now, you're kind of doing a butterfly, which right now you're kind of doing like this kind of thing where they're both going opposite. I haven't done this in a minute. Hold on. Like, dude, you're kind of going that direction, which is really tricky. What I'd like to encourage is both chucks going same direction like this, right? So when this goes over this direction, this is also going the same direction instead of opposite. I'm sure, like, you can eventually, well, you can get away with something like this if you're going in the direction that you're doing, which is nice. But what I'd like to teach you is this one, because we can, like, eventually get around to the waist straps and we can keep the flow going, coming from a weave. So first, I'm going to show you what you're doing in a way that you can keep it, like, you can make it more aesthetic. And that's going to be when you're going behind your back here. You can take your other hand and instead of trying to butterfly it here, pull it up towards your shoulder. That is some loud rain. So when you're doing your motions here, right? I'm assuming you're kind of in this hip reel. We're going in opposite direction. This one goes behind like this, and this your backhand's just gonna hold it here for a second. You're gonna let it weave in front of you right there. So here, weave. The moment it weaves, you're going to swing it up behind your shoulder. So here to here. The motion with your right hand is going to look like this. Shoulder, swing it back, hip, swing it up to the shoulder. So front to back, down, like that. And what's going to happen is, this is going to move to the front. So what we're going to do is here, swing it up. And what the other side is doing is basically, the other side is doing is we're swinging, we're sorry, this thunder is really throwing me off. My ceiling is really loud. Look at, here's the pattern with your left hand. Across, and front. So cross, and then you're gonna pull it back to your front of you and in front here. Cross your body and in front. So that's motion 1 here, right? Get this down until you don't have to think about it. And then what's gonna happen is, as this goes to the front, this one's gonna go behind you. So, or your hand's gonna go behind you. So you're basically gonna pull your hand behind as it goes back here. So, right? So we're going like this. Usually your hand crosses in front. Now go behind here. Behind. And here's how it's gonna look. Behind. So we're doing this hip reel here. And as it goes behind, it's gonna carry over like that. So see if you can do that first. Because you're going in opposite directions, which I like. Just make sure your hand goes behind like that. The moment it goes behind, then as this goes to the front, this is swinging over to the top. So the whole motion looks like this. Cross, over. I guess you're gonna have to pull this up to your shoulder too. Like I said, you've chosen a really complicated one. That's a hard one, but that's kind of the pattern. Again, first pattern's like this. You're kind of doing a beat here, and you're coming across to the side to the other side, right? But then you have to get your other hand to move with it. So it'll be like cross. I'm going to show you the easier way now, which is they're going the same direction, which I think you should start with because it's a lot easier to accomplish. The one that you're doing is a lot harder. So these are going the same direction, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go back and forth here, and it's going to pull behind. But this time, your hand stays still, and as it goes behind, you're going to wait for it to pass, and then you're going to just swing your hand in front like this. So here is how it's going to look. Now we're going the same direction. As it goes behind, let the back hand come first, and then swing the second hand second. So swing, swing. Again, swing, swing. So here we go. Swing, swing. See that? So this one's just kind of plopping out in front like that, while this one goes behind. So swing, swing. Right? So that's the beginning of it. So we're just kind of weaving through, and then we go swing, swing. And you should be able to go right back into that. So basically, as soon as you swing it through, you just go right back into the hip reel. And the same with this one. This one's actually just doing the reel from the get-go, so nothing changes with that. It's just staying here the whole time. See? So it'd be like whoosh, but it's still doing the same move with your right hand. You're gonna get your hand in front, whoosh, and back. Meanwhile, the other hand is going here. Remember, it leads. And then this is just kind of moving the same way. Whoosh. See? So your left hand that's going behind goes first, the right hand goes second, and then you go back into your old pattern again. Go back to this pattern, this goes back to this pattern, and all at once, whoosh. You can also go the other direction, which will allow you to eventually get the waist strap, you know. But we'll just get to this point right now. Just go ahead and see if you can get to that point. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, the other direction this way is a lot harder. Oh yeah, that was the move. This direction's a little bit harder. I don't quite want to recommend that one yet, but it's going to be the same concept. The hand that goes in behind swings first into the front. So see how the left is going to the front, and as it's tucking back, then the right goes to the front. So they're taking turns, left, right. We're going back to here, left, right. When I say left, right, I'm just referring to which chuck is in the front. All of this is not easy. So none of those moves are easy, but the whole pattern, wow. The whole pattern is getting your left hand to go first in the front, and then your right hand follows. That's usually how it goes. All right, let me see here. Let me know if that helps, Anthony. I know it's a little bit tricky. We're kind of in tricky territory, though. Hopefully that helps. Aikiflow sounds awesome. I wish I could have gone. I'll go if you do one. That's awesome. I just might do another one again. I mean, for me, it was like paradise. I got to train. I got to meet Flowtricks artists. Some of them were performers, and I'd love to do it again too. God, when I look at your films, my confidence increases 100-fold. Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. I hope so. I hope so. I hope that you have the chance to perform in front of people, and it's the best feeling. Like, that's the one thing I love the most about my job is, like, whether I'm teaching or performing, I get to, like, inspire people, and it's a great feeling. Ike Flow, yeah, travel around the UK and Europe. Yeah, that would be cool. I would love to get out of the United States for a little bit and just travel. Once COVID's done, I want to, like, figure out a way to make this happen. If you held one in the big island of Hawaii, I'd definitely show up and bring friends. See, like, that's just it. Like, I really need to do this. I really do. Once we get COVID done, I'm going to sit down seriously and try to plot out my whole thing. Excuse the rain. My whole thing is that I've never done anything like it, so I don't know where to start, and I'm not sure who to contact. But you're cracking on my ceiling. If my apartment caves in, just know, I went out doing what I loved. Anthony says, that's awesome. I must work on this. You know what? Let's go ahead and go through this a little bit more really quick. I'll get back into teaching, into talking about performance a little bit more, but I figured, why not, right? So when we're talking about these hip reels, we're going to say, I want you to know that there's two ways you can do them. One, they go opposite directions like this, right? Usually this is a much less used way to go around your hips. And then the other is they go in the same direction. I like this way better because when they're going in the same direction, you can go straight from weaves, pull it to your hip, pull it through, and back to weaves. And the way this works is, if you go to a weave like this, all you have to do is work on the transition of, instead of arms crossing here and here, you pull it down to your hips and the arms are just kind of crossing here and here. So it's basically you're pulling it back and pulling it back out, right? So the trick to getting this in flow is, if you have a weave to the side, learn to transition. So once we uncross and cross our arm to the front, instead of going over to the top, right, how this crosses over to the top, instead it's going to pull over to the back like this. So here, pull over to here. So here, pull over to here. You notice, like, there's this almost like this crossing that happens right here. And that's really important to know, because that also opens up another thing, which, they've said something like Zan's diamond, but it does open this area right here for a second. And that's actually a good way to transition between all of this type of motions here, like where you're doing these kinds of motions, or basically the front plane motions, also comes from here. It's very, very short, but the transition to get to your hips down here also pulls from this position here, but it's just so short that most people don't notice it. But if you see it happening there, you'll also know you have this transition point from here to here to here. So you have lots of options when you're flowing with these weaves, because you can go from the hips straight to the front of you and get into this front plane, and then go to the side. Although it'll be wheel plane, you will be in this. And you just have this option to transition between these motions seamlessly back and forth. This is a little bit more intermediate to advanced in terms of thinking and concepts, but it's very much the same as when I was talking about the staff, the box. The rotor here, figure eight here, the pinwheel back here, and then the reverse figure eight here. We create a box. Here's one technique, here's another that's on this side, and here's one behind us. With nunchucks, with double chucks, it's the same thing. Think of this like the left side of the box. Think of this like the rotor that the staff would be. And then we also have, let's just consider this like kind of behind the back motion, but it's still kind of the same concept. There's a point here, point here, point here. And when you can break it down into those pieces, you're going to also know there's going to be a point here, there's going to be a point behind you as well. And you can transition between moves between all these different points. But you first have to be able to recognize it and see the transition points as you move. Hope that helps. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. But being able to see those transition points will set you up for even more flow-based moves that you may not have thought about. Just because you're already doing it, you just may not realize it. A lot of the transitions that people do, especially if you transition into a move that doesn't feel like it worked right, likely it's because you're moving between so many planes so fast, or directions so fast, that you miss something. And so it looks a little bit sloppier. So sometimes if you recognize where you're actually going, you can add another technique from another move to smoothen it out a little bit. Hope that helps. let's see here. That's awesome. I must work on that. Sorry, you have a channel in Telegram. Telegram. I don't have anything on Telegram. I have an Instagram account, which is ken.flowtricks. I have a TikTok account, which is flowtricks. And of course, my YouTube account. Mr. Q, it's Raiden. What's up, Raiden? Anthony, I get that I enjoy the challenge of learning this stuff. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, especially with you, Anthony, like you love the complex stuff, man. I've seen the stuff you work on, so that's fantastic. Give me just a second. Just want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, I've seen the stuff you work on, Anthony. You like the complicated stuff, and I think that's great. I'm more than happy to try to help you with that. Give that a shot. I know it's not going to be easy, but once you get it down, then we can get the full waist wrap in eventually. All right. IKeyFlow says, maybe put a video post to see if there are any dojos, etc., that'd be willing to host you. From there, you could perhaps plot a route. Yeah, I agree. I think the hardest part is going to be, especially if I try to get out of the United States, how I'm going to fly. You know, like, I definitely don't want to take any gambles and, like, you know, in terms of financial risk with regards to, like, flying out and then running out of money or whatnot. So I would need to make sure, like, have some contracts and things set with dojos so I know that, like, can make it without running out of money, you know, through this process. So the United States would be easier, but I definitely think it'd be more fun to travel the world and teach nunchucks. I just need to figure out how to make it happen. Maybe I need to find an investor or something too. I just don't know the first thing about that. But if some of you guys out there know, I would love to hear it. Again, my email is ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to listen. I think it'd be fun. Again, it would be fun to travel even 6 months out of the year and just meet all the Flowtricks people, as well as create new ones and teach nunchucks to all these different kinds of people. That'd be a good life for me. I think that'd be fun. Gunther, hey Ken, how are you doing? Hey, I'm doing well, man. How are you? I didn't know that you were already streaming 2 minutes ago. I sent you a mail with my first video. Shoot, let's check it out. Yeah, like I said, with Gunther, I switched between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. I personally prefer 7 p.m., but I feel like a lot of people, it's later. Some people are at midnight, so I try to shoot for 5, even though my preference is 7 as well. So Sundays, it's in between 5 to 7. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Give me just a minute here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up my email. Let's see what we have. Aha! Oh, okay. Give me just a second here. I've got a few. I actually have three emails here. I'm gonna start with Alex's because I think he wants me to take a look at his club flow. It's a good start. What IKeyFlow had asked me for this one is just to kind of take a look at the video and give thoughts as to what I think about it. Of course, I don't know who your target audience is, and I think that's going to be an important factor. I do think that your shots are beautiful, though. Nice. Good change up. I like how you did that with the music too. That was cool. I like that. That was creative. Sorry if you hear typing. I'm just typing notes as I'm watching this. That was cool. I really like that visual. All right. That was good. That was good, man. Before I begin with my thoughts, I want to check and see if you had a target audience or who you were trying to reach with that video, because depending on who you're trying to make it for will depend a lot. If you're doing it for artistic merit, I got nothing. Like, you got a beautiful video, you've got great techniques, you've got like creative motions. If you're making it like a promo reel or a sizzle reel to show to like an entertainment company, or if you're trying to pitch it or wanting it to go viral, I think that there are some suggestions that I may have that may be able to help. So I guess what I'll start with is, as I'm watching this, I think if you're going for more of a viral approach, by the way, these are 1.2 kilogram clubs each, so some moves with lighter clubs are not possible. Wow. I think that, let me just go back here to, where is okay, there it is. If I were to do any edits, I would try to, like, okay, I'm going to give a couple of thoughts. First, I'm going to say, as an artistic video, there's not really much you need to change with this. I think that it showcases your art, it showcases your skills very well. If we're looking to try to get it more passable to people, then I would like have a flash of your clubs within the first 5 seconds, right? I'd have something that flashes, even just something that kind of like says, hey, boom, just pull you in for a second, but then disappear and then go into the scenic stuff. Just something to where if someone's scrolling really fast, like if I'm scrolling up and down really fast, and I happen to see this video, that you capture my attention within 2 seconds, you know? Because this doesn't quite say exactly what this video is about, and I feel like once you hit 10 seconds, if you haven't gone into it, at least a flash of what the bread and butter of the video is, you're gonna lose people around that time. Their just attention spans are just short. Again, if you're doing this for an artistic site like this, because this is just beautiful, or if you're going for people that know you already, you can totally get away with that. I'm just trying to say, like, in terms of if you're trying to get it passed around more, you'll want to hit it faster with shorter, probably more like 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes, cut a little bit more, and getting to the clubs quicker. But then you can flash some of this afterwards, but just so they know what this is about. Because right now we're at about... The cool thing is you do it to the music, which is great. But it took 23 seconds, right, to get to this. And I fear that most people won't wait that long to watch a video. Now, some people will, of course. I just mean like ratio-wise. Like when I look at my YouTube stats, most people only hang around for a minute tops, unless they're really trying to learn it. So that's where my suggestion comes in. A couple more things, and this is going to come from more of a performer standpoint, just in terms of if you wanted to try to pitch it out to companies, or if you wanted to again go for that viral type shot. I think that I think more angles would be helpful, because whenever you're going with the music and it shifts with the music, I think that's fantastic. But I feel like this is too far for a lot of phones, because you're gonna look really small. You're gonna look a lot smaller on a smaller phone, you know, like if this, I'm just shrinking it down so you can see, like, it's harder to kind of get a feel for it. I think any time that you do videos and you're able to have the face involved in it, because people will feel the emotion by what they see in your face, it's gonna make a big difference in your video. People are gonna be able to feel it more if they can see your face more. And again, if we have a phone, it's going to be maybe like this or smaller, so the person gets a lot smaller. So you want to, if you bring it in just a little bit closer, even if you zoom it in, I think that may also help. And then also, let me see, what else did I write down here? I think it would be cool, and I don't know if you could do this, but you have all these really cool patterns. It'd be cool if you had a visual artist that could like kind of draw lines where your hands are moving, so the audience who don't understand the patterns can see all these geometries that you're making. Because if they could see that geometry, they can see the circles and the triangles that you're building. I can see it because, you know, we trained, like we can see it, but not everyone will be able to see that. But if you're able to draw it out, people will definitely have an appreciation, even if it's for 10 seconds. It does not have to be the whole video, just enough to illustrate, hey, I'm making patterns, I'm making this. It's kind of a way to, like I said, because they're kindergartners, they won't be able to see that, but once you plant it in their brains, they might be able to see that. So I might recommend that too. So yeah, closer shots, a little bit more angles, illustrate the patterns more if you can have someone visually like draw it out even for a second, or have like diagrams off to the side that kind of demonstrate it. That might be kind of cool. Again, this is all just for viral-esque videos, or if you want it just to be passed around a little bit more. I think the syncopation to the music is awesome. Might also be kind of cool. I like how you do your change-ups, but I think it might be cool to do a costume change that may emphasize a more intense part. Use a different angle when you want to emphasize a different part of the song as well. I do think some angles would be nice, like higher up or lower down, or getting creative even, like getting inside that hut and doing it from the top of the, you know, there's a lot of different ways. Again, all that is icing on the cake. I'm just thinking like in terms of keeping people's attention in a world where everything's just flick, 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 flick. I think that's probably the best thoughts I could think of when I watched that video. None of it is necessary. I just think it might just help, especially for all this is based on short attention spans. Really, that's about it. I hope this helps. I think that was an awesome video though, and I love the patterns that you make. Being able to showcase the audience the patterns, just having I wish that like being able to draw those patterns out would be a lot easier, because I think that if people could only see the geometry that we're making, that's why LEDs are so awesome and fire dancing is so awesome, because we leave trails behind us. But when it doesn't exist, sometimes it's helpful to have a visual aid. All right, another thing, I'm gonna double check here and see if there's anything here. Hell yeah, Ken on tour. Once things settle down, I could put a word in. Yeah, that would be awesome. Nemo says, you're still alive. I am alive and kicking, man. I try hard to make video calls with you on Instagram. You know, it's really hard to get a hold of me. My messages are always full. I always have more messages than I know what to do with, because not only am I on YouTube, but I also own a business, and so it gets really hectic. So I generally don't answer a lot of video calls, just because I'm just always slammed, unfortunately. Ike Flows says, I guess I didn't think of a specific target. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, if you're doing it, especially if you're doing it for your own merit, then nothing really needs to change. I was just thinking like, okay, I had to choose an angle because it would depend on the kind of advice that I would go for. From an artist standpoint, you can do, like, it's what feels right to you. I was just thinking more like, let's say we wanted this to be like a viral video that gets passed around a lot. What would keep people's attention spans when it's so short? They've seen so many things. The internet is just continually feeding more. Let's see here. That's some badass glove flow. Agreed. That was awesome. Gunther, I just sent a link to the video, so you don't have to use WeTransfer. Great. Yeah, I'll give it a shot here. Anthony says, IKeyFlow needs club LED clubs, I think. Yeah, I think that could help. If you use LED clubs with Luminacer, even for a second too, Luminacer is an app that makes trails. That could also help create the trails that people could see just as a visualizer. More as a focus of educating people that don't understand the concept of patterns, because a lot of people don't. I am going to go ahead and open up the next one. I just want to make sure I read everything off first, and then we're going to open up Gunther's video. Maddie says, hello, Sensei. Welcome, Maddie. IKeyFlow, on reflection, I think my target is getting people interested in this type of club swinging spinning. Hey, that's awesome. I mean, in my eyes, then you're right on the right track. I think it might be fun if you want to get people hooked to even have something really simple that you do that looks flashy, and then just kind of, I don't want to say teach it, but like have a close-up on how your hands are, just so they can say, hey, I could do that. Like if they can insert themselves into your thing. So you may not always want to like have some advanced complicated stuff to say, hey, this is where you could be, but then have something really simple that focuses in and maybe even slow motions, and it makes people say, hey, I could probably do that. I feel like then they could insert themselves into your video and want to pick up clubs, but also see that there's a long trail, there's a long ways that they could take it, just in my opinion. Good, I'm glad that helps. Let's see. Good point, Anthony. LED and fire make patterns easier to see. Yeah, I agree. Anthony says, yeah, get some Flow Toys Vision clubs that are awesome to highlight when you're doing. I agree too, yeah. I'm actually talking to Flow Toys about finally getting Vision chucks, by the way. It may happen soon. I'm gonna go ahead and go look at this new video really quick because Gunther sent me a link to a video, so let's go check it out. Here we are. My first nunchuck video after 2 months of practice. All right, let's do it. Got the over-the-shoulder passes, very smooth with the passes too. Good speed too. Nice. Neck pass, reverse neck pass, figure 8 wrist rolls, clutches, flicks, good. Nice. Hold on, take notes. Look at my trusty notepad out here. Good. All right. Nice. That was a good one. For only 2 months, you are killing it with moves. Jeez. Got those figure 8 wrist rolls going down. Nice. Under the leg throw. Beautiful. Beautiful. Got some hyper in there too. It's a little bit far. You could get a little bit closer. That'll speed it up as well as cause less damage. Close. I see what you're going for. There it is. Same stick pass. Hand rolls. Nice. So he gripped it. He caught the grip in the middle. I was checking to see you could play that one off. I'm gonna pause this for a second. There are ways you could play that off if you accidentally grip too far, where you could keep it going so it doesn't slow down. I still can't believe this is only 2 months of practice though. You've made huge jumps. I don't even want to tell you where I was in 2 months. Not here. Not here. Yes. Front to back to a back to a throw. Nailed it twice in a row. Hey, I rhymed. 3 times. 3 times. Good catch. Oh, number 4. This shows consistency. That's really good. We all do that millions of times. Wow. Impressive, my friend. Very impressive. Well, oh, there we go into the horizontals. That's really good. All right. Now, I didn't read the message. I saw an email was sent to me too, so I'm just gonna read this really quick. Make sure that I see what I want to make sure that made the first video. It's not my best day. Oh my gosh, it was a great day. I still think it was good. Good enough to give an impression after my progress of 2 months. I hope you find some feedback in your live stream. My left hand is not used to it. It's too bad. That's okay. That was something I noticed, was the left hand wasn't being used, but we can pass by that for a second. As you can see, I've only trained my right hand. I have 2 options to solve it. Number 1 is training very hard with my left hand, and number 2 is changing my name from Dutch Flying Chucks into One-Handed Nunchucks. All right, okay. So, I'm gonna give you some advice, because that's why we're here. First, holy cow, that was only 2 months? Really? I'm very impressed. I think that's fantastic. I wish that I could have done that in 2 months for sure. I was struggling with throws in 2 months. I had speed, but I had no control. Like, I was just all over the place. I'm very impressed. A couple things I want to show you. Let's go ahead and go over here. First, you've mentioned that you are struggling using your left hand. So the thing I would like you to suggest is obviously start working your left hand a little bit. There's a couple things I'd like to suggest with your left hand, which is one, you don't need to do all of the moves that your right hand can do. And I've said this before, but teach your left hand different moves. Because if your right hand has to learn the move, if you teach it to your left hand, it will give it something to do. Not only that, if you're only right-handed, it'll eventually start to show that the right hand is the only thing in motion. And what that will do is that will kind of seize up your body. Do you see even how my body has no motion? But even as I transfer it over, how my body has a little bit more motion just because I have another hand. If I were to recommend a first move for you, then it would be the rotor pass. So that way you can do your right hand, but then you're going to basically hold your hand outwards. You can look this up on my YouTube too. You can hold your hand outward like this to the outside, grab it like here. So grab and catch, flick it up with your right hand, and then you're gonna roll it all the way over until the chuck goes underneath and you grab it underneath. The reason why I say this one is because this is a good setup for whenever you're doing your one-handed moves, and all of a sudden you can go straight into a rotor pass from here just to kind of get your hand involved. So now you can do your flow, and at least your hand has a nice little combo that goes back to the right hand, but you started using your left. The goal here is not to, I don't think you should just drill your left hand per se. What I think you should do is plant a little seed. So the first seed would be just to give it to your left hand for a second, pass it back to your strong hand to the right. Now, as time goes on, don't pass it over, start working new tricks and techniques to get it back to the right. But to first start, I would suggest doing the rotor pass. Boom, your first left-handed motion. That should make it a lot easier. Another thing that I noticed is when you are doing your flow, just make sure that you also just try to relax and loosen up your body just a little bit more. See if you can kind of keep your body still and your arm moving. So as I'm doing this motion, do you see how my body is very still? This is a practice I'd like you just to try. Right now what's happening is your whole body is kind of moving with it, which kind of creates like this robotic feel into the body, and it's just because everything is kind of connected. Everything is connected to your toes, to your arm, which works. But eventually, if you can learn to disconnect so your arm moves independently, then you can start adding different kinds of motions that couldn't happen when it's kind of locked into place like this. So when you start working with your right hand, see if you can have your chest, point it straight at a wall, and see if you can start doing your moves without moving your body at all. Now this is not the goal at all. The goal is just to free your body from your hand motion, so you have that as an option. So you can turn with it, or you can also keep your body straight to do other motions. So you have body and chest straight and doing it. Then you have body moving with the hand, and then eventually you're also going to have body moving with the hand, but in a different way. Body turning with it. And we're not going to get into turns, but those are the kind of the three focuses that I'd like you to focus on with your body at this particular moment. One is it's facing forward and your arm is disconnected. One is it's connected, and then the other is we're in motion. The one in motion we won't cover today so much, so just focus on the first two, but keep that in the back of your mind, and that will kind of free up your flow a little bit more. And the only other thing I can think of right now is, holy cow, I can't believe that was 2 months. I think what I would like to see at this particular moment now is that you take all these moves, because right now there's still parts of it where I feel like the moves are going one at a time, which is totally right. For doing it for 2 months, you definitely have a lot of moves. But one thing you can start working on is taking some of these moves now and see if you can combine them together into one combo. Because sometimes the moves will go like, here's a figure 8 wrist roll, right? And then you do have this, like here's a combo, and that's great. Like here's a combo. or wait, that wasn't the combo. I think it was this one actually. But what I'd like to see now is to take the moves you can already do, see if you can create new combos out of them where you only do the technique one time. This is going to be more of a flow setting. What I feel like is happening there is it had more of a training session vibe to it in your flow, which I think is also very important because I can tell that you drill your moves a lot. Now we're just trying to combine them together a little bit more. Basically what I'm trying to do is give a little more fluency, breaking apart your hand from your body so you have more control of that, as well as going from technique to technique fluidly back and forth, because you have enough techniques to build a good flow now. Yes, we're going to integrate your left hand, but we're going to do it very slowly. We're just going to add that one rotor pass to start with, and then as time goes on, you can introduce more moves, but just get the rotor pass for now. Don't be so hard on yourself, and I think it's great. I still can't believe 2 months. Those are my initial suggestions that I have right now. Hopefully that helps. All right, let me see here. I'm just trying to remember where I was. Aikiflow, maybe motion blur would show the patterns? Possibly. I mean, I'm sure there's some effects too. I just don't know what those effects are. Mostly you're doing it as think of it like, and as performers, we have to think about this a lot too. Think of it like you're educating people through a visual aid. That's how I like to think of it. It's not always, sometimes I like to be cool and do cool things, but if they don't understand what's going on, then it's like you got to educate them first. And that's actually a performance technique, which is if you do something really complicated to the audience, if they don't know what they're seeing, they won't be able to register it. So you educate them. For instance, if I do a really complicated trick, I might have 3 levels of that trick. The first one is something the audience knows and it's really simple, but then I add on another part to it. And then the final part, which is the actual move I was showing them. And by building it up, they can see the process that it takes to get to this crazy move. And that's a form of education, which actually helps a ton with performance. If you don't educate them and you're doing these wild, complicated tricks, it's no different than a college grad talking to a bunch of kindergartners using their craziest, fanciest language. The kindergartners are gonna be like, what? So that's kind of how I like to say it. Think in terms of education sometimes, and it might help in terms of how you approach your visual aids or whatever. Again, that's if you're trying to reach people that don't know what you're doing. If they know what you're doing, you don't have to educate anything. They probably don't want to be educated. They probably just want to see cool stuff. All right. Let's see. It took me more than 2 months to get to that level. Well done. I know. Aikiflow, 2 months. I'm impressed. I know. We're all impressed here. This is pretty insane. Better than me at 2 months. He did well. I know, Anthony. Same here. Better than me at 2 months as well. I have a question for you. How can I send you a movie? Well, you can send me a movie at my email. It's ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. We're just about done with today's session though, so if you can send it soon, otherwise we'll take care of it on next Sunday. So definitely if you want to, I don't know which way it goes. Definitely if you want to send it my way, just keep in mind that it may not be able to be reviewed until next week. That's all. So again, if you want to send me a movie, I have 2 cameras. I'm gonna just pop that one off. I have 2 cameras staring at me, the old one and the new one, and I keep looking at this camera. If you want to send me an email, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. I'm just about ready to close today's session off, but even if we don't get it today, just come back next Sunday. As long as you sent me that video, come back, remind me just in case I forget, and we will definitely review it. All right. Bruno, I'm from Brazil. That's awesome. We got Brazil, we got France, we got UK, we've got all over the world. That's pretty awesome. Hawkeye says, sir, am I late? A little bit late. We're just about finishing up for today, but we'll do more again soon. And then we also say, my master, hi. Oh, hello. Welcome. Gunther, thank you very much for the feedback. I just cut a part of the training stage. Accidentally, I trained the rotor pass and the anti-spin today. Ha! Good. Yeah, get that rotor pass down. So I think especially if you're afraid of your left hand and all the work that it takes, just go slowly. Introduce it slowly. Keep your flow that what you're working on. Keep working on that stuff, but always be conscious to include your left hand at least once per day, one new trick or one thing that you're working on. As long as you're consistently building it, your hand will get better. Guaranteed it will get better. You know, there's this time I dislocated my shoulder and I couldn't use my right hand for almost 6 or 7 months because it froze. I couldn't lift it. It's probably actually more like 9 months, but taught my left hand a lot of things. So take some time, you know? Definitely take some time to get to that point. Give me just a moment here. Oh, Ray, how's it going? I see Ray just joined us. Ray is awesome. Raw Milk, hi, from Ireland, just started. What's up? And Hawkeye's from India. So we've got Ireland, India, UK, Brazil, France. Like, that's insane. Wow, we've got a huge amount of people watching this video from all around the world. That's pretty awesome. I'm gonna check my email real quick and see if anything was sent. Otherwise, I want to ask if you have any last questions for today about nunchucks, staff, flow, performance. Any questions about making a living off performing, or where you may be stuck? If you have a video, I'll probably I don't see any videos in my oh wait, no, I don't see any videos right now, so go ahead and send me that video, but we'll review it next Sunday. But if we have any more last questions, let me know. Otherwise I think we might call it for today. Let me just see here. Raw Milk says, I'll check out your vids. Oh, awesome, yeah. If you're just starting, there's a Nunchucks for Beginners class. It's an hour and 45 minutes long, but it's packed full of all the fundamentals. All the fundamentals that you need to learn is in that video. So, yeah, with that said, you know, oh yeah, I always forget, you know, as always, you know, I used to be a full-time performer, and this is what I do now, at least until COVID's done. To be honest, I feel like with COVID, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so I'm gonna just branch off topic for a second, because it's kind of like, I don't want to say that, like, I feel like everything in life is just how you react or how you deal with it, you know? It's just like, kind of like when you get knocked to the ground, someone punches you and you land on the ground, some people will think that they are in a disadvantage, while ground fighters have a whole new strategy to take things. And I feel like, oh wow. So here's one bad part about having an iPhone. Hold on. Give me a second here. Boom. All right. Give me a second. So I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to have to go to my old cam for a second. No, wait. Okay. Whenever anyone calls me, the video shuts off because, you know, someone just tried to call me. That's hilarious. I never would have thought of that. What I was going to say was, if you get knocked to the ground, if you know how to ground fight, then your strategy changes. And I feel like with COVID, that's kind of been the same thing. It's like, here I was a performer. That's like me standing. Flow tricks has always been around, but once we got knocked down by COVID, I feel like oh man, hold on. Speaking of getting knocked to the ground. All right. Give me a second, y'all. I'm gonna have to move this over. Okay, there we go. I just feel like being able to roll with the punches, you know, and when we're talking about like COVID and whatnot, I totally lost train of thought. Something inspiring, something epic. There it is, boom. So yeah, I hope you guys feel inspired by that wonderful talk. Anyways, the truth is just roll with the punches, and I never realized how awesome it would be to reconnect again with Flow Tricks and start these live streams and lessons. I was always nervous about live streaming before this, just because, I don't know, I guess it's a whole nother thing, like, you know, you don't get retakes, so it's been an interesting experience, but man, it's been awesome. I really enjoy this. So I'm gonna go see who's contacting me. The last question was, these are Dark Monk Studio Nunchucks. Dark Monk Studio Nunchucks. You can look it up on Google and it will show up. They're my favorite chucks, of course. I helped him build them. Like I gave him suggestions. He sent me new nunchucks. I told him what I thought, and then he would rebuild it and make new nunchucks. And we did this time and time again until we got a chuck that I felt like worked really well. There's no such thing as a perfect chuck, but for flow tricks, the style that we do, the nunchucks, the Dark Monk Studio chucks are built off of the style that I like to do and teach. So it's fantastic. Some people have noted it's a little bit heavier. It's got a little bit more weight than like foams, but it'll allow you to have the momentum, but at the same time, it's not going to punish you if you hit yourself because it's very padded. So, okay, let's see here. Sir, this COVID-19 really gives you some deep insight to talk about life and how valuable it is. Yeah, I think that's what I was going for was just to really appreciate like what we have, because I know that we can always lose more. I know we can always gain more too, but it's really important to I know my relationship with my son has gone way up because before COVID, I was so busy. And you guys know this too, because if you're on my YouTube channel, I was posting videos like once every 2, 3, 4 weeks because I was so busy. Like my life was so wrapped up in performing and trying to make all these new things. And it's like when COVID happened, it was rough. It was rough. But I got to slow down and take walks, and I started jogging, and I got back in shape. Like I'm in the best shape that I've been in years because I'm jogging every day now. And I don't know, I just feel like things have changed. And I think slowing down has helped me a lot. And I just hope that I hope no one has been affected negatively to the point where they've had to deal with loss with COVID. But outside of that, I do like the slowing down of things, even though some parts have definitely been challenging. And I just hope you all are doing well too. With that said, I'm gonna take off for now. But if you're looking for Dark Monk, just type Dark Monk Studio Nunchucks in Google, and it'll show. Hopefully that'll help out. Or just look up Dark Monk. It's dark-monk.com, and that should show up as well. With that said, I do have to go because I've noticed I've got a couple phone calls waiting on me. But I hope you guys have a most amazing week. Don't forget, next week we're going to shoot for 5 p.m. again on Sunday. So don't forget that. Send me a message if you need anything, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. I will read everyone's messages. I think I saw some new messages pop up, but I'm just got to get this phone call. So you all take care, and I'll talk to you soon.